So, in between everything else which was going on, obviously was the transition from junior school to secondary school. Big transition. 11 years old, and you moved up. You lost some friends, and then you gained a lot of new ones, which was nice. Jason went with me. Jason went to the same school, and with a few other guys which I knew, and yeah, and they were going to the same school as me, which was cool. When we got there, we got separated into different classes and different houses and different tutor groups. Thankfully, I ended up being in the same tutor group than with Jason, which was quite nice. So I had a constant friend there, which I had known for a very long time. But it was loads of different kids from all over the place, all different schools from the valleys and all that sort of stuff. Our class tutor was a lady by the name of Mrs. Hadley. And she came across, when we first met her, as a complete battle axe. Oh, gosh, she was like... It was a scary woman, very scary woman, like sort of Medusa without the snakes. And she spent half the class telling us how to spell her name. And lo betide anybody who got it wrong. Hadley. Still remember her now. Scary. But as time went on, we soon begin to realise that, bizarrely, she was the nicest woman you could probably meet. They all were. There was a load of teachers like it. There was another teacher there, Mrs. Brown. Ma Brown, everyone used to call her. She had a small woman, very scary, Medusa, no snakes. But she had this thing where Mrs. Hadley used to storm into the room, so you knew she was there. You knew she was there. Ma Brown, no, you could be messing around, you could be throwing books, like picking your nose, scratching your ass, having a fag. Maybe not a smoking bit. And then suddenly, you feel the presence. You'd feel it. It's like a Jedi mind trick. And the class would go quiet, and no one would look at the doorway. But you filed yourself into your seat, and you sat down, and you were very still and very quiet. Ma Brown was in the doorway, watching. She was a scary woman. But on the same side, same as a lot of the teachers, no matter how bad they came across, I would probably say a good 99% of those teachers were fantastic. They were great. They were fantastic. So I remember going in before she started, digressing back to Mrs. Hadley. Before we started learning her name, me and Jace legged it into the room, as all good little schoolboys do, and we headed straight for the back of the class. Yeah, because let's face it, you all know that teachers can't see you in the back of the class, can they? We can get away with things. Yes. So Mrs. Hadley told us to pair up with someone. So, well, hey, Jason, good on you, mate. But the class was very uneven. Well, by one person, that's not very, is it? It was just uneven numbers. So we got teamed up with this other guy, who didn't know anybody else. I think he came by himself. Bizarrely, this guy was to become one of my best and lifelong friends. I don't see him every day. He's one of these people, one of these friends that you can go 10 years, 15 years without seeing him. And you bump into each other and it will be like, you know what, mate? Yeah, you okay? Tidy. Like nothing. No time has passed. You know what I mean? He is one of my best friends in the world. And his name was Dave. He was quite quiet. Black hair. He already had a widow's peak at the age of 11. Mad. I haven't seen hair, but yeah, he was cool. Yeah. And yeah, it was good. And with the advent of secondary school as well, came the advent of what these days is known as bullying. I think it was known as bullying back then as well, in all honesty. the three of us, Jason, Dave, myself, we weren't in any particular sort of gang. We never hung around. We just hung around together and talk boy stuff. Mostly martial arts, guns, fighting, that sort of stuff. And me, myself in particular, we just used to keep ourselves to ourselves. We didn't feel the need to go off and be part of the in crowd or the gang or anything like that. We were happy being who it was. Well, and with that, now I didn't have much of a dress sense when I was growing up. My parents allowed me to pretty much dress as I wanted, as long as I was comfortable, which was cool. Even down to haircuts and stuff like that. And now my clothes, I could wear big denim coats with 500,000 badges on it, and ripped jeans or ripped trousers or shoes half falling apart. As long as I was comfy, they didn't mind. Haircuts, they ranged from skinheads, Mohicans, long hair, short hair, coloured hair. Not so much for coloured hair when I was in school. Granted, they didn't like that sort of stuff. But everywhere in between, it's cool. And unfortunately, because of that, it draws a bit of an attention to you. It does. So because you're not part of the in crowd, or you don't look like everybody else, or don't act like anybody else, it draws attention to you. And it started with me on the way home on the school bus. I'd be sitting there minding my own business, looking out the window, doing nothing. And the guys behind me started rubbing my ears. Now, it consists of basically, that's sort of from heights behind the other way, okay? Basically, go like that on your ears, and then, rubbing your ears like that, really hard, really, really hard. I used to sit there and take it. The pressure used to get more and more and more. The pain doesn't start straight away, but it certainly does get bloody unpleasant, I can tell you. This went on for a long time, over a few weeks. It kept on, and I'll get back to that in a minute. And in between that as well, there was also a guy in school called John. Now, he was a big lad. Not as in muscle mass, shall we say. And he took great amusement in taunting me and tripping me up and pushing me around, because I was tall and I was very, very skinny. Very skinny. Wherever he could, until the end I was upset. I was too upset. And it got to me in the end. It got to me in the end. And in the end I told my dad. So I sat down with him and told him what was going on with ear rubbing and John and all this sort of stuff. And he just looked at me and went, "What do you want me to do about it?" Which sort of took me by surprise, really, because this was my dad. This was my hero. What do I do here? I'm asking for help. And he just said, I can't fight your battles for you. What do you want me to do? Get on the bus with you, go to school, hold your hand. Took me by surprise, really, because it was just I never really thought of it that way. And this was my dad talking. It was quite scary. And for one person I always looked up to, and he couldn't help me. He was refusing to help me. So I don't know. And then he just looked at me again and just said, "Sort it out yourself. Otherwise they'll always do it. No matter what they do, they always do it." So I went away a little bit daunted that my dad couldn't help. So the next week, same thing was happening all over again. Sitting there waiting for him to rub my ears until they were red raw, waiting for John to push me around. And the final straw came with ears. And they started rubbing, and I sat there, and my dad's little voice tweaked in my head. They'll always do it. They'll always do it, because they can. So, without really thinking, I grabbed all of the hands, which was rubbing my ears, pulled them forward, grabbed all the 2 fingers, and yanked them backwards. There was a hell of a crack. Oh, It was a hell of a crack and a yelp. They didn't rub my ears again for a while. Now, the next day in school, I came in, and the chap, Chris, had 2 fingers, the 2 I had grabbed hold of, wrapped up, bandaged up, splintered up. I broke 2 of his fingers. And bizarrely, I didn't feel bothered about it. Didn't feel bothered about it at all. Which was really... I'm pretty sure my parents knew. I'm pretty sure they were. I'm pretty sure they did, and they knew about it. But they didn't do anything, because I don't know, maybe it was just for time, like, you know, when my son's being bullied, he knows he's getting bullied, and he bloody sorted it out. But, you know, I presume they knew what was going on, but I don't know. Now, I also got me back to John then, because I think a few days later he was continuing. The ear rubbing on the bus had stopped completely. They left me alone. Now, John kept on. He obviously didn't know about anything about that. And it was the start of English class. And I got mugged to hand out the books. You know, reading books, exercise books, whatever you use for the day. And he legged it. The teacher legged it to get something from the stock room, and told me to think. So I was going around the room handing out the books, and I failed to notice underneath the books I was carrying a foot sticking out in front of me. So I tripped over the foot, but didn't fall. It was John's foot. So I turned around and gave John, like, you know, just a look, you know, like, you know, just my best nasty look, and he just laughed. He just literally laughed in my face, which I think riled me up even more. And he stood up and pushed me on the shoulders, bang, like, whilst laughing, sending the books all over the place. Now, I didn't fall over. I turned to steady myself, and I turned around, and without hesitation, without even thinking about it, my fist came up and planted him straight on his nose. Oh, smack! It was a perfect shot. Blood sprayed out in all directions. Literally, just his nose exploded. And he landed on his floor, on his rather oversized ass. He wasn't happy. He wasn't really happy at all. After the initial shock of it all, and I was like, "Come out!" I just decked John. He got up, and he wiped his nose, and flicked the blood in his direction, and he came at me. And for that little moment, I thought, I am doomed. I'm so dead. I'm dead now. He's huge. And thankfully, I was saved. The teacher came back in. Sorry. The teacher came back in. And he kept shouting from the door, stop there. Yeah, and he was just down. He wasn't looking too pleased with either of us, I can tell you. So we were ordered out for a good talking to. Bizarrely, I think John got the worst of it, because he was a big lad. He was bigger than me, and I was a skinny little runt, you know. But after those incidents and a few more, I never had much of a problem with bullying, or never being picked on and stuff like that. And I never got around to thanking my dad for giving me that courage, and put that note in my head to say, like, you know, if you want it sorted out, you do it yourself. And he gave me the courage to do that, whether or not it be subliminal messages or whatever like that. But he gave me the courage to stand up for myself. Cheers, Dad.